Hello guys, and welcome back to my humble little channel. It is I, Michelle, aka Chat-Mort, and I really appreciate you stopping by to hear what I have to say. This video is going to be kind of a summary, a summation, if you will, of some of the events that have transpired recently. Because that's a completely original idea, right? A recap of, the past week of events or the past several weeks of events, It's something that's completely unique to me, of course. I brainstormed tirelessly to come up with something innovative and completely new within the skeptic community, if you will. So I present to you episode 1 of This Week in Peepo. Dear God, that's a bad joke. Before we get into anything of any intellectual value, I wanted to say Happy Halloween! Yay! This sucks because now I have to actually finish editing this video and put it online today, or it's going to be atrociously outdated. What is unique about this video, I hope, is that I wanted to kind of highlight a couple things that really have not been covered or addressed by anybody else that I watch. There are a lot of stories that are very popular, the discourse and the conflict kind of in the genre of, anti-feminist or anti-SJW videos. And there's a lot of really interesting and very relevant stuff that's just kind of gone under the radar altogether. So yeah, I wanted to point out a couple of those things today. One thing that is resoundingly silent in the voices of the left of the media, one thing that has not been addressed whatsoever, mysteriously, oh so coincidentally I'm sure, is that the IRS has been found conclusively guilty of intimidating conservative groups during the election cycle by constantly targeting them and them specifically. They're actually paying out tons of settlements to the groups that they have targeted. They have been found resoundingly to be in the wrong and to have targeted with the intent to intimidate conservative groups that otherwise would have advocated for and donated for Republican candidates. This is huge. This is huge, and nobody's talking about it. So that's one thing I wanted to point out. Now, this has been addressed to some extent in the media, but I also wanted to point it out partially for my own benefit because we can't forget about this stuff. The circumstances surrounding the Las Vegas shooting are getting even weirder. The media has gone completely silent on this. I know a couple people have mentioned it though, like YouTuber, commentator type people, and it's very, very weird. The guy who supposedly was shot in the leg sometime during or before the actual massacre took place. The hotel employee has mysteriously disappeared to Mexico. Not to mention, very recently, the brother of the shooter was arrested in a child porn sting. So what the hell is going on with all of this? Something very, very strange is going on here, and I don't want to in any way imply that I think this horrific violence and this sick, evil guy is more important than honoring the victims and remembering them as humans, as, incredibly complex, beautiful people who were just as vibrant as you and I are today, if not more so, considering how boring I am. I don't want to allow this grisly end that is in no way relevant to who they were as people to eclipse any of that, any of what made them who they were, these people who were killed, or at least horribly, heinously injured, who are going to be dealing with the aftershocks of this for the rest of their lives. But we cannot let this go. The media wants us to forget about it altogether, clearly. And things are getting so bizarre that it's blatantly obvious here that some kind of cover-up or some kind of very concerted efforts to interfere with the exchange of information is going on. It's being perpetrated by somebody. Obviously, I don't have any answers to this, but it's something that we need to remember and we need to keep talking about it, because if the media or the police department or anybody, whoever is covering this up, whoever is running interference here, whoever is doing everything within their power to silence this and cause it to just be forgotten entirely by the public, we cannot let that happen. We can't. I think we owe it to all of the people affected by this to pay attention to it and to remember it and to continue to ask these questions, even though at this point I don't think we're ever going to get honest, clear answers about what's going on here with the investigation and with the shooter. A very interesting development as all of the investigations into Russia's interference with our election goes on is that the DNC has been proven to have actually colluded with Russia to try to influence the outcome of the election. The Clinton Foundation has also clearly been in collusion with Russia. Why is the media completely silent on this? Meanwhile, this guy who worked for Trump's campaign, who Trump rejected when he suggested that Trump collude with Russia, he's in the media all over the place. And this guy's name is Papadopoulos. So yeah, it's been proven now that everything that has been projected onto Republicans and onto Trump's campaign, the left, the Clinton Foundation, the DNC itself is guilty of. The literal specific criteria that they have been projecting onto conservatives and accusing conservatives of, they are in fact guilty of. That is just spectacularly interesting to me. It really, really is. Even more fascinating is the resounding silence from the media on this. I'm not surprised by it, but just the utter hypocrisy, just the sheer brazen dishonesty is, wow, is it interesting. But clearly, more importantly, is the revelation that someone out there is named Papadopoulos. Now, I realize that one of my patrons and one of my friends, Saronchik, has said this is a fairly standard Greek sort of name. No, I don't care. This is fascinating to me. Someone out there has been addressed their whole life as Mr. Papadopoulos. Somebody has had their "hello, my name is" name tag be finished out with Papadopoulos. How did this person fill out the bubbles on the standardized test? You know how government forms are minute, the little fields for you to put your name in? How did he fill out Papadopoulos for the last name on those forms? What happens when cops pull him over and have to address him as what he is named as on his license? So, do you know why I pulled you over today, Mr. Mr. P? Sir, are you aware of why I pulled you over today? What in the heck? Can you imagine that the DMV being like, next, number 25? Number 25? Number 25. Next. Hello? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Can somebody's name is Papadopoulos? That is amazing to me. It makes me happy beyond all comprehension. It makes me gleeful beyond anything that can be truly expressed and conveyed in the English language. And the last thing I wanted to mention is this whole thing about Kevin Spacey. Now, this has been covered widely by many media outlets. I'm dumbfounded that anybody is stupid enough and is desperate enough to virtue signal and get sympathy pro-LGBT points to actually successfully be distracted by the fact that he supposedly is gay. But can we just look at the statement he released? I know everyone has probably seen it. To my knowledge, as of this video being recorded and uploaded, it is Kevin Spacey's pinned tweet on his Twitter account. But this statement is absolutely spectacularly bizarre to me. If his intent was truly to distract everyone from the fact that these allegations have surfaced, if that was actually his intent, to distract people, in what universe was something this brief, something this transparent, something this succinct supposed to succeed at that? I mean, I know actors are not these superhuman people. I know they're not ultra intelligent, but don't you think somebody as successful as Kevin Spacey has enough lawyers, has an agent, has enough advisors that could tell him that this was not a wise move, that this was not going to succeed? You're telling me that someone who has the intellect required to memorize the lines of Francis Underwood and to portray a character like that accurately is dumb enough to think that this kind of distraction ploy is going to work? I want to reiterate that I strongly believe that the foundation of our justice system, that is, you are innocent until proven guilty, is crucially important if we ever want to find any truth, if we ever want to protect the innocent and convict those who are guilty. I think that's extremely important, and that tenet needs to be protected at all costs. That being said, why on earth would Kevin Spacey come out with something like this? Something that is so obviously a diversion tactic, something that concedes that he doesn't remember this happening and therefore that it's even a possibility that it happened. unless he is guilty, unless there are other things that are going to come out if he pushes back. Because if there's any chance in your mind that you didn't do this, or if you know with every fiber of your being that you never preyed on somebody like this, wouldn't you lawyer up? Wouldn't you take a strong stance against it? Unless people in Hollywood are so on board with and so compelled by the idea that if you are accused, you are immediately guilty, that he's just going along with it because he doesn't think there's any chance that the truth and justice would prevail here. What I'm inferring from the way Kevin Spacey addressed this is that these claims are absolutely true. And even if he doesn't know whether they are or not, there has to be something else very, very incriminating. There has to be something else that would come out if he didn't address this honestly that's causing him to actually be so straightforward about it. And we also talk about the fact that a lot of these people who think that it's this grand revelation that they are gay or bisexual are very clearly gay or bisexual beforehand. I was absolutely dumbfounded when Anderson Cooper came out as gay. Don't you look at that man and say, that's a gay fella. Doesn't affect his reporting, doesn't affect his integrity or, you know, how I view him as a newscaster, but that's a gay dude. Or like Ellen Page. How dumb do you have to be to not know that Ellen Page was gay? What purpose is served? Do you really think that we can't tell that you're gay? Is somebody's gaydar really that bad? Are these people's egos so inflated that they actually think that it doesn't come across? Really? It's quite queer. No pun intended. I don't really understand the disconnect and the lack of self-awareness required to come out as gay if you are Kevin Spacey. Anyway, those are the topics I wanted to briefly address today. I know that as far as the Kevin Spacey thing and as far as all of the sexual abuse allegations coming out of Hollywood, that's something that's been covered very thoroughly by the media. But I just wanted to address it with my own thoughts, just because it's the statement that he released is so spectacularly incompetent, and everybody's saying that it's a diversion tactic. You know, the fact that he's coming out as a member of the LGBT community is supposed to be a diversion tactic, but he did it so poorly that I'm almost not convinced that that's what his intent was here. It couldn't have been. He can't be that dumb. He can't. Can he? But anyway, while the media is completely blowing up, exploding with all of this stuff, with story after story after story about this as it unfolds, they've been mysteriously silent on the fact that the IRS is paying out settlements to the conservative groups that it intimidated. The IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, this official organization in America, is paying out settlements to groups that it intimidated and completely immobilized during the election cycle. No media coverage of this whatsoever. Amazing, isn't it? Not to mention the fact that the DNC and the Clinton Foundation have been found guilty of the exact precise thing that they accused Trump of all throughout the election. Total dead air from the media on this. Really? And of course, like I said, we absolutely owe it to ourselves as the public, and we owe it to the victims of the Las Vegas shooter to not let this story be buried by all of these other far more interesting things that the media is actually addressing. There are some very, very strange things going on here, and there is undeniably interference being perpetrated by somebody to keep the truth about this shooter from being exposed to the public. No, I'm not naive enough to think that we ever will actually get down to the truth. There are so many conspiracy theories, and people are so unwilling to believe anything that doesn't fit with their narrative that whatever the truth is, even if it does come out, is going to be virtually impossible for us as the public to identify. But we need to remember that we are being screwed with spectacularly. As the public, you know, as an electorate, as the receiving end of media, we are being screwed with, undeniably. And we need to stop tolerating this crap. So that's about it for today. I wanted to thank all of my patrons, especially Michael Hatch, because yay! Thanks, dude, seriously. He is my newest patron, and it means the world to me. All those links, of course, are down below, and thank you Kenny Jones and Sauron Chick for being my patrons as well. If you want to follow my official Facebook, my Twitter account, my Instagram, any of that stuff, all of those relevant things are there. And I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching and spending your time here with me when I have such peculiar, nonsensical things to say, as you can see. So I appreciate it, of course, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon. Bye!